A 3-inch gap in an automatic chicken coop door is enough room for a weasel, and winter is when cheap doors confess their sins. I'm Grant. Fiona's here, and this is Root Insect.
And today we are talking about automatic chicken coop doors, which sound like a luxury until you've sprinted outside in muck boots at 9:14 because the pop door is still open.
Or because a raccoon is standing there like it paid rent. The article we're discussing tested light sensor and timer-style doors through a Pennsylvania winter, Zone 6B, with single-digit nights, sleet, snow glare, and one rude raccoon cameo.
The winner for a small backyard coop in 2026 was the Run-Chicken T50 automatic coop door. Not because it's flashy, because it's simple.
Compact unit, mounts right to the coop wall, no long cord lift, no dangly control box for chickens to peck, and fewer spots for frozen bedding dust to become a tiny mechanical tragedy.
Exactly. The fewer moving parts you expose to wet bedding, wind-driven rain, and chicken dust, the fewer "why is this grinding at midnight" moments you get.
Which brings us to our recurring segment, Grant's Garden Mistake. I once installed a garden gate latch upside down and spent an entire summer blaming the wind, the dog, and possibly ghosts for it popping open.
It was very clearly upside down.
In my defense, it worked beautifully for about 6 minutes. And that is also how people get fooled by coop doors. A cheap track-style door can work perfectly in September. Then January arrives, the vertical tracks fill with bedding dust, freezing rain hits, and suddenly you're outside with a headlamp and pajama pants tucked into boots.
The article had exactly that kind of failure. An older cord lift track door stopped about 3 inches from closed. 3 inches is plenty for a weasel, a rat, or a very ambitious predator with bad intentions.
So, Fiona, timer versus light sensor. I wanted light sensors to win because they sound smarter. Daylight changes, the door adjusts, I do nothing. That feels like technology serving the farmer.
No, that feels like Grant wanting chores to disappear.
Also true.
Light sensors can work, but they judge the light where the sensor is mounted, not where your hens are living emotionally or socially. In the test setup, the coop sat near Norway spruce, a garden fence, compost bins, oak slabs, and a lilac that apparently has not seen pruning since the early Republic.
Harsh, but fair.
On clear evenings, the light sensor did pretty well, but on heavy overcast days, it closed too early. With snow cover, reflected light made dusk weird. Under tree shade, it thought bedtime had arrived, while the hens were still outside scratching around like they were at a spa.
That's the nightmare. The door closes and 2 hens are standing there blinking at it like, did we miss a meeting?
And predators do not care that your sensor was doing its best. That's why timer mode won in this yard. Not by a landslide, but enough.
Timer mode is boring.
Boring keeps raccoons out.
The timer does require actual human behavior, though. In November, you bump the closing time earlier. In March, later. The article's trick was a phone reminder. Check coop door time on the first Sunday of the month.
That is the part people skip. With battery doors especially, you cannot install one in October and ignore it until tomato season. Cold weather is hard on batteries. Check the settings, check the batteries, and watch it run a few times before you trust it.
If your coop is in an open pasture with a clean view of the western sky, would you be more open to a light sensor?
Maybe. If the sensor sees true evening light, not shade from a spruce row or the dark side of the coop, it may behave much better. But I'd still test it through cloudy weather before relying on it.
Any concern with the Run-Chicken T50 closing on a slow hen?
Any automatic door needs observation at first. Watch your flock's routine. Some birds are dawdlers. If your hens wander in late, set the timer with a cushion. Don't set it for the exact minute you wish they'd behave.
Chickens, famously respectful of schedules.
Near the end here, it's time for Fiona's 30-second verdict. Yes, I'd recommend an automatic chicken coop door for most backyard flocks, And my pick from this test would be the Run-Chicken T50 in timer mode. The reason is simple. Fewer exposed parts and a predictable closing time matter more in winter than clever sensing that gets confused by shade, clouds, or snow glare.
So the takeaway is not automation means no chores. It's automation means fewer emergency chores if you maintain it.
Exactly. Install it well, keep the threshold clear of bedding, check batteries before cold snaps, and don't trust any door until you've seen it open and close in your actual coop.
And if your setup has trees, weird shadows, or Pennsylvania weather with a personal grudge, timer mode may be your friend. If this helped, hit subscribe. We drop 3 new episodes every week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you don't have to hunt for the next one.
Thank you for listening to this edition of RudeInsect.com, Conversations with Grant and Fiona.